Welcome on into the channel, you sons of Dorn, and wow, I don't think I've ever greeted you Imperial Fisters fists in my channel for a very long time. And to that, I owe you an apology because I do not feature enough Imperial Fist content on my channel, and today we're going to right that wrong. Now you may be wondering why I am going to be reviewing the Legion Praetor for the Imperial Fists, and my answer to you is that I may need this action figure in a future video that I'm planning on doing. So I was looking back on the catalog of the action figures that I have overlooked, and this Legion Praetor definitely fits that bill. Let's not waste another moment and immediately dive into the review. Wow, would you look at this mane on the helmeted version of this action figure. The plume is truly an impressive size, and I find that my eyes are really drawn to this area right here. I do enjoy the ornate decorations that sit at the bottom of the mane. Then you get a modified beaky, which I think looks a bit strange because the point is facing down, in which other beakies, the point is facing outwards like this one. I'll be honest with you all, due to the weird look of the helmet, I much prefer the bare-headed version. Speaking of the bare head, this one has an extra tassel of hair, which is strange. Usually there's some sort of continuity between the bare-headed and helmeted versions. Anyway, I think that the grizzled old man look is really befitting of this figure. He has a piercing stare and appears to have many years of wisdom due to the full beard on his face. There appears to be some light shading, which helps the gruffness of the face stand out more. The top of the pauldrons have the same overall ornate look that the helmet has, with this almost rose-like swirl design. Plus the black outlining further makes the yellow of the armor stand out. The chapter symbol is screened onto the shoulder pad, which I think is a bit of a shame because this is a character and they usually have more texture than your average grunt marine. Then the arms have an interesting green panel, but what strikes me is the level of shading between the armor panels right here. This shading really makes the armor jump out at me in a very good way. The left pauldron is pretty wild looking with these large and small half spheres. Most marines that I've reviewed only have one size of ball, so I guess this Praetor really is a special one. In the chest area, I find that this high silver collar that the Praetor is rocking is a unique characteristic that sets him apart from the peon figures. This high collar makes him look distinguished with more of these swirl-like icons. Another thing I wanted to point out to you is the subtle thing that JoyToy does to make this armor stand out, which is the usage of outlining, especially here. For example, the Alpha Legion Headhunters do not have these outlines, and consequently, they fall flat as they are very boring to look at. I think that the outlining combined with this color gradient truly makes this area pop. The torso is partially blocked by this buckle, but at least there are these 3 bands that decorate the area. And if you're enjoying this in-depth review, I want to take this moment to tell you to hit that subscribe button if you want your feed to be inundated with delicious reviews of more Horus Heresy and Warhammer 40k action figures. Dominating the waist area is a monstrous metallic eagle design, which further makes a big statement that I appreciate. The skull pendant further adds flavor and spice to a very striking figure. Then the plastic belt that's supposed to represent leather surprisingly has highlights. This plastic that represents a cloth tabard has a level of detail that is not found on other marines either. I'm struggling to remember a marine that has this striking black outline coupled with shading in the recesses of this plastic. This design, while subtle, is incredible to me. The tassets that flank the thigh region mimic the left pauldron, further giving continuity to the figure. Then around the back region are a bunch of scrolls, but what interests me is the scabbard for the dagger, which I am happy to say is completely functional, as I will demonstrate right here. Can sheath the dagger. Now the thigh area is rather boring. I say this because there is no outlining with gunmetal, but at least there is some shading on the edges of the armor. This issue is then solved when you look at the knee in the shin region. Thankfully, the metallic outlining appears again, coupled with this interesting design which makes these skulls look like they have a large plume of hair. The bottom of this backpack of this Praetor looks rather standard with a nice combination of yellow and gunmetal colors. However, what captures your attention is the massive standard that sits atop the backpack. The design of the skull is a bit milquetoast on the front, in which I would have appreciated some cracks or dents, but when you flip around the back, there are plenty of cracks. I also like how these bronze or copper laurels hug the icon. When I look at the cape, I see that there is a ton of movement associated with it. The cape is obviously swept off to one side and has a ton of wrinkles on the fabric that are further accented with shading. This outlining on the cape further gives more character to this flowy article of flair. And on the other side, it is as black as the void of space. I love how the base color of this weapon is black, and then the gold, red, and gunmetal on this firearm perfectly accents the black. One thing I'll nitpick upon is the paint on the scope. I don't really like how the front lens is a matte red. In my opinion, it should be a metallic red in color, and then the other end of the scope should have at least some sort of coloring as well on it, instead of, well, nothing. And as a side note, this pack actually can be removed. Finally, why oh why do weapons have to be attached to the armor? I will never understand this design choice because, well, I don't like it at all. Now, the aforementioned dagger is a simple but deadly looking weapon. You've got gunmetal coloration for the blade, but at least there is highlighting on the edges of the blade, which makes it stand out. With this power sword, right off the bat, one of the first things that I liked about this figure is the design. It is super flavorful because of these holes that can be found at the center of the blade. I am sure that this is more of a decorative piece, but like I said, I really like the look. There is something that is elegant and regal about it, especially with the red gem that is inset on the hilt. And I really like how the hilt flares out gracefully. Sadly, the only time that I talk about movement on an action figure review is if there's an issue or a potential blockage of movement. I initially thought that these cords on the right hand would inhibit movement, but it turns out you can actually get a full 360 degrees of motion here, but it really makes this area very tight. The design choice of attaching the cape to the pauldron is always a disappointing one to me. You can get more than 180 degrees of movement, but the attachment at the top and the attachment at the backpack area really restricts movement. And now let's compare this Legion Praetor to some other action figures so that we can get a sense of size. It would appear that the Legion Praetor stands about a head taller than this version 3 Intercessor, and then Titus stands a little bit taller than this Legion Praetor. And for more period-specific size comparisons, it would appear that the Space Wolves Legion Praetor is the same size as the Imperial Fist one, and this Legion Praetor in Cataphracti armor should stand taller than this regular Legion Praetor right here. Well, Imperial Fist fans, there you have it. A full action figure review of somebody from your Legion, aside from Mr. Golden Boy, Rogel Dorn. I'll have to say I was impressed with this general look of this action figure. The highlights include the seasoned look of the face, the shading and outlining of the armor panels, as well as the beautifully and aesthetically pleasing power sword. However, there are a few small things that did irk me on this action figure, unfortunately. As I said, I highly dislike the attachment of weapons to the armor, and then I don't like the restriction of movement because of the poor positioning and attachment of the cape to the pauldrons as well as the back. One of the best designs to attach a cape that JoyToy uses is when they actually have a loop that loops into the shoulder socket region of the action figure, and that really does not restrict any movement whatsoever, and it's a shame that didn't use this technique for this action figure. All in all, I think that this action figure is worth your attention. I definitely would recommend this guy if you are an Imperial Fist fan, but for you casual fisters, I think that there might be another action figure that I'm going to review in the very near future that may suit your tastes just a little bit better. And if you are interested in picking up this action figure, click on the link in the description below where you will be brought to JoyToys. In the 3 years that I have been working with them exclusively, I have encountered nothing but fantastic customer service, and not to mention the free shipping as well as tariff-free shipping is a pretty big thing nowadays. So that is a big benefit. And you know what's another big benefit? Use my affiliate code SNS to receive 12% off of your purchase. And so, members of the chapter, thank you so much for watching this action figure review as usual. I am thankful for each and every single one of your likes, comments, subscribes, as well as shares, as they benefit the channel so much. And please leave a comment in the comment section what you feel with regards to how this action figure is. Did you already get him already? Are you probably yelling through the screen, why the hell didn't you get him already, Sprues? As I said, let me know. And I thank you again. I'll see you all in the next one.